Hello. Before we begin solving the puzzles, there is a small announcement that I would sort of like to make. Uh, this is going to be the uh possibly the last, Artisanal Sudoku set of puzzles that I will be solving in a while. And also shortly in a few days, I'm also going to be stopping my creation of the gas puzzle solves. That's because I have some rather important matters to deal with, which literally force me to, be out of my house for at least 2 weeks straight. And even then, I will be out of my house for like a majority of my time for another 2 months. So that means that I won't be able to create and post my solves for at least 2 months, essentially. And so what that means is, I won't be able to create that much content. And if I'm lucky, that could be, stopped after that 2 months. But I'm not counting on it, which means that very possibly it would this lack of videos would last for a bit more than 2 months. So yeah, I'm kind of sorry if you've been enjoying the videos. They're gonna be stopping quite soon. I don't know if I'll ever come back to this. Probably I will, just because it's fun and stuff. But yeah, if you guys want other content that I make, I have a backlog of like other videos that I post on my gaming channel, which it's down there, and somewhere it's in the description if I've managed to place it there, or it's on my channel itself. Like if you scroll down, that shows up. But yeah, I just wanted to just inform you that the videos are going to stop for a bit. So yeah, I'm really sad, but also kind of happy that I actually started this entire endeavor, because it's been really fun solving puzzles and talking to people who also enjoy these puzzles as much as I did. So yeah, let's just start solving the puzzles. This is Aisle Seats by James Sinclair, part of his puzzle Artisanal Sudoku Volume 116. It involves nothing but killers and arrows. So let's take a look at the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so place the digits 1 to 9 in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. Killer cages. So we have a bunch of killer cages here all lined up, which is why I think this is called aisle seats. So digits inside each cage sum to the number in the top left corner. So for example, those digits will sum to 14, those digits sum to 6, and so on for every cage in here. We also have arrows. So the sum of digits along an arrow is equal to the digit in the connected circle. So for example, those 2 digits sum to whatever digit is in there. Those 4 digits sum to whatever digit is in there. Digits may repeat if allowed by other rules. So this is valid. You could have something like this. So yeah, those are all the rules. With that, let us just begin solving. Now, I think we have to start with the longest arrow over here, which would be this. It's 4 digits long. And even if you did allow one of those digits to repeat and made this a 1, the minimum you can make this is at least a 7 if you used 1, 2, 3 and then another 1. So this would have to be at least a 7. Now that doesn't really help because, that's a lot of options. But we took a look at this square right here. It overlaps with a 14 cage, which means this is actually quite a large sum. 14s can only be made with in 2 ways. It's either a 6 plus an 8 or a 5 plus a 9. Which means that the minimum digit here must be a 5. It must be at least 5. That's because if you go any lower, this digit here will have to be at least a 10, which isn't a digit, so that's not valid. So this digit has to be at least a 5, and if we then added everything else at a minimum, if we made this a 1-2 pair, and this make it a 1, you would have a sum that is a 9. So 1 plus 2 plus 5 plus 1 is 9, and so that is the absolute maximum you can go. So even if you took the maximum values of all of those cells, the minimum values of all of those cells, you would get a total that is a maximum, which means that this is bounded by both sides and therefore has to be exactly what happens. So this must be a 9, that must be a 5, this must be a 1, and those have to form a 1-2 pair. Awesome. So now with those out of the way, we can fill in the cages. That must be a 7 to make 8, and that must be a 9 to make 15. 14, sorry. 14. Okay. Can we continue with that? Yes. This 10 cage also allows us to do some stuff. For example, this one here, well, it can't be a 1 because that would force a 9 here, and therefore digit will repeat in the row. So this can't be a 1, that must be a 2 with an 8 to make 10, and therefore that is a 1. Very cool. Okay. I think in a similar vein, we can do something about this cell over here. Because those 3 digits, even if we made them as small as possible, have to sum to at least a 6 if you use 1, 2, and 3, because they're all different, they're in the same row. And so that digit is at least a 6, but cannot be a 9, so that digit is either a 6, 7, or an 8. Sorry if I'm rambling a bit here. Don't know if I'm going too fast or not. Okay, what next? Probably do other stuff, like this 12 cage maybe? The larger cages are actually kind of constrained, maybe? I guess so, yes, the 12 cage cannot have a 5 or a 9 in it. And therefore the 12 cage cannot be made of 5, 7 or 3, 9. I think it therefore must be made of 4 and 8, because there are only 3 ways to make a 12. And this 8 here resolves that for us. The other way around, whoopsies. So yeah. There you go. Does it help the 15? Yes it does, because the 15 has only 2 ways to be made. It is either a 7, 8 or a 6, 9. Nice. But that cell here cannot be a 7 or an 8, because it can't be 7 or an 8. Therefore this can't be made of 7 and 8, because that would have no cell, no digit to place. So it must be made of 6 and 9, and this 9 resolves that. Does that help us? It possibly does. I mean, lots of digits will help us. Oh, I'm sorry, this digit here is just a 3, right? Yeah, because they must sum to 12, so that's 3. This could do something for us. I'm not sure if it will though. Because 11 does have 4 ways to be made. Same for 9. 9 also has 4 ways to be made. And I'm not sure if that's really constrained. It's not very constrained. So I'd say we look somewhere else. Like this 5 cage over here. Because 5 cages only have 2 ways to be made. They're either 2, 3 or 1, 4. And they must be 1, 4. Because the 2, 3 over here means that if this was 2, 3, that would have no digit in it. So this must be 1, 4, and this 4 resolves that for us. Okay. This digit therefore is actually quite constrained, because those digits must now be at least 2, and therefore this has to be at least a 5. Is that useful? Oh, well, it has to be at least a 5, but it can't be an 8 or a 9, so it's a 5, 6, or a 7. But I think we can do better than that. Because that tells us what... Yes, the 13 cage helps us. This cannot be a 5 because you need an 8 to form 13, and that would break. So it forms a 6 or a 7, meaning this is a 6-7 pair. So it's 6 plus 7. This 7 helps us resolve that. Cool. So this must be a 7. Those digits sum to 7. There are still 2 ways to make it though. You can either have 3, 4 or 2, 5. So not exactly helpful here. I can resolve this 9 cage now. Is that essential? Well, right now is the only thing I can see. And the reason I would say that is because the 1 and the 6 here... Oh, it doesn't. I'm stupid. No. It doesn't resolve it yet. I was like, this 6 here plus the 3, 6 plus the 1 here resolves it for us. It doesn't. Because the 6 here is the same as the 6 there. So no, not really helpful. What else can we do then? Because this 9 cage does still have 2 options. I think it still has... Oh, it doesn't have 2 options. This 4 reduces our options. Alright, so the 4 ways to make 9 are either 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, or 4, 5. And generally for each clue, you can kind of figure that out by going with 1 plus something. And then if you change one of the numbers by 1, the other number has to go in the other direction by 1. So, you know, for example, let's look at 12. The minimum you can have on a 12 cage is a 3, because any lower and you need a 10 to accompany it, which doesn't work. So we can start by saying, Well, if it was a 3, you would also need a 9 to accompany it. So what other options do we have after that? Or we could increase 3 by 1 and it gives us 4. So to balance that out, we need to decrease 9 by 1, which gives us 8. And then we can do it again, which gives us 5 and 7. And then if we did it again, we get 6 and 6, which doesn't work because digits cannot repeat. At least in a box, in a cage, it cannot repeat, but also because it's in the same column. And if we went even further, we would then have 7, 5, which is the same thing as 5, 7. So that causes us to go backwards, which means that we only have 3 options in general, which are 3, 9, 4, 8, and 5, 7. And that's how for every single clue you can theoretically figure out every possible pair that forms it. And this works for 2-digit numbers. It also works for 3-digit numbers, but it's a lot more finicky. And generally we don't have to do it here because all our cages are 2 digits large. So yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so how does that help us here? Well, we can already remove a couple options because of those digits, right? 1 and 6 cannot be on the 9 cage at all. So we can remove 1, 7, and 3, 6 as options here. We can also remove 4, 5 because 4's here remove 4 from both of those cells, similar to how 6 and 1 does it. There's just multiple of them here because it doesn't, doesn't exist on the column, but the 2 rows help us. So 9 cannot be there, meaning that this only has one possible option, which is 2, 7, and this 2 resolves that for us. Alright, I'm so sorry. Let's keep going though. We have a lot of small digits here, which should help us with small cages like the 7, right? Oh yeah, 7 has 3 options. It's either 1, 6, 2, 5, or 3, 4. But because of the 2's here, that removes 2, 5 as an option. Because of the 4 here, that removes 4, 3 as an option, which means our only options left are 1 and 6. The 1, 6 here resolves that. Alright. I think the more I'm doing this puzzle, the more I feel like it's starting to become sort of a drill, which is... Well, I will say it sort of imbues the idea in the solver's head quite well. So that's a good thing. If you're like new to this kind of puzzle, where you have a bunch of 2 long cages, that's a pretty good way to start trying to figure out stuff. This 8 here probably should have only one option as well. And we can say that because yes, it can't be 1, 7, it can't be 2, 6, it therefore must be 3, 5. And the 3 here resolves that for us. The other way around, whoops. And those digits, well, we can just use Sudoku. They're just there because decoration. So they don't, this set of digit, this cage technically doesn't have to be there. But I like decoration, so let's see. This has to be a 9, it has to be a 5. And yes, that in fact does sum to 14, so that's good. This cage also does help us check our solution. So that's useful as well in that case. We can finish this box here because of the... there's a triple, which consists of, I think, 3, 4, 6. 3, 4, and 6. That digit can be a 4. Now we could probably narrow this down using this cage over here. 3 needs to be next to 8, which doesn't work because 8 already exists in the column. 4 needs to be next to 7, which would work. And 6 needs to be next to 5, which also would work. Okay. So 2 options as well. What else do we have that could be beneficial? I mean, any of these cages could be the one we're looking at. I want to say it's the smaller cages, or the one that are more closer to the extreme, because those generally have less options for us. But I don't think I see anything useful right now. Oh, just kidding, I do see something that's useful. In fact, for both of these cages, I do see something that's useful. And this one does help us a lot. Because in this cage, 1 cannot be in it. The 1 here and the 1 here remove 1 from both of those cells, which is a little bit hard to spot. But yeah, if you looked at it for a while, you will begin to see it. And 6 generally has 2 options. You either have 1, 5 or 2, 4. 1, 5 is no longer possible, so it must be 2, 4. As for this one, again, 1 cannot be in those cells because of the same ones. And so this can't be 1, 4, it must therefore be 2, 3. Yes, and this 3 resolves that. So this is a 2, that's a 3. This 2 also resolves this 2, 4 pair, which gives us a 6 over here, which resolves this entire triple. Awesome. And of course, because of this 11 cage, that must be a 5. Right, so we are sort of getting close to solving this one. I don't entirely know what this would be yet, but I guess using sort of differences, we can figure out what options we have here. So if it was a 6, you need another 3 here, which actually just makes it impossible because you can't repeat 3s. So this just can't be a 6 anymore. If it were a 7, you need a 4, which would be okay. If it's an 8, you need a 5, which would also be okay. So alright, we have 2 options again. What else do we have? I guess the 12 is the next one. 12 has 3 options. The 10s and the 9s both have 4 options each. But the 12 has 3 options. Again, it's either 3, 9, 5, 7, or 4, 8. But we can remove stuff from that. The 9s here remove 3, 9, and the 5s here remove 5, 7. So this must be 4, 8 then, and this 4 resolves that. This 4 also helps us prove that this is a 5, which means this must be an 8. Awesome. Let's keep going. This is a... Which one shall we go first? I think both are basically identical. Let's talk about 9 then, because... just because. There are 4 options for 9. We can remove a bunch of them. For example, 2, 7 we can remove. 3, 6 we can remove. 4, 5 we can remove. So the only option left is 1, 8. And we can resolve that. And the final one, well, we just have to do Sudoku. We can use it as a checking mechanism at the end. This must be a 7, that must be a 3, and those do in fact sum to 10. So that's nice. We have more triples here. This has to be, I think, 2, 5, 8. This has to be, I think, 5, 6, 7. Sorry, I cannot read. The 5s here tells the 5 goes here. The 6 resolves the remaining 6, 7 pair. I can't do the same here for some reason, but that's okay. Alright, so we're almost done with all the clues now. This has a sum to 7. Can we resolve that yet? Yes, this can't be a 3. It can't be a 3, 4. It can't be a 1, 6, so it must be a 2, 5. And, oh, this is not 2, 5, 8. I'm so dumb. This is not 2, 5, 8. This is 2, 8 and something else. 2, 8, 9. I was very close to making a mistake there. I was like, wait a minute, the 5 here repeats itself. Yeah. Alright, anyway, again, this is a 2, 5 pair. 5 here resolves that for us, so 2, 5. So now that digit can't be a 2, that digit can't be an 8 because the 8 above it. But generally not much else. This is the last clue that we have. Those digits sum to 8. Don't want to figure out how they could sum to 8. Not really. I will say I think the answer is 1, 3, and 4, but I can't prove that right now. So, I mean, I can prove it. I can prove it. Do I want to or not? Yeah, sure, why not? Alright, let's talk about how I prove this is a 1, 3, 4. I don't want to go through all the possible combinations that sum to 8. But I will say that 8 must have a 1 in it. And that's because without a 1, the minimum you could have on 3 different cells are 2, 3, and 4, which add up to at least a 9. Which means that without a 1, your sum will be at least 9. So it doesn't work. It must have a 1 on it. After that, we can then say, well, the remaining digits after you add a 1 in there must sum to 7. How could you do that? Because 1 already exists, it can't be 1 plus 1, 6. The 5 is also here, so it can't be 1 plus 2, 5. Therefore, the only way to have 7 is with 3 and 4. So therefore, it must be 1, 3, and 4. And we can actually resolve that. The 4s here give us a 4 down there. The 3 resolves this remaining 1, 3 pair. Nice. Alright, let's continue this. Sorry, I was busy once again. Keep getting sidetracked, but okay. Oh, right. I'm just looking at how we can keep doing this. And we can. This is a bunch of triples. Like 3 triples, in fact. Actually 2 more on the side as well. So let's do them. This has to be, I think, 1, 7, 9. Sorry. 1, 7, 9. This can be 1. Or 9, actually. So it must be a 7. Gotcha. This has to be... I think 3, 5, 8. This can't be 3 or 5, so it's 8. And this 5 resolves the remaining 3, 5 pair. And the last digit, well, then we can just place. I think it's just a 2. That would be a 7, 6, 7 pair. Jeez, I can't read. Right, so there you go. There are the triples. Here we have 1, 6, 7. Which, does that do anything for us? This can't be 7. Not really. Okay. What about here? This is 2, 3, and 9. Yes, and none of those digits can be 9, so 9 goes up here. The 3 resolves this remaining 2, 3 pair. Actually, this now those digits can be 6. Ah, so 6 must go up here. Alright, there you go. Now those digits have to be, I think, 1 and 7. That's resolved. This has to be 8 and 4. Yes, 8, 4. And I think we're basically done. Yeah, we're basically done. Alright. Can't resolve this yet, but we have a bunch of triples here. This has to be 2, 5, 6. 2, 5 means that must be 6. 5 here resolves the remaining 2, 5 pair. Now that digit can be 2, so 2 goes here. This has to be 3, 4, 9. 3 has to be here. 4 resolves the remaining 4, 9 pair. And that resolves the 8, 9 pair. Cool. Now that digit is just a flat out 6. That digit is just a flat out 8. That is therefore a, I think, 4, 9 pair. And we can fix everything now. 6 resolves this 6, 7 pair. Resolves this 1, 7 pair. Resolves this 1, 9 pair. Resolves this 4, 9 pair. 4, 9 pair. That resolves the 4, 8 pair. Which solves the puzzle. In about 19 minutes and 52 seconds. Nice. Well, that was very fun. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Hello, this is Satellites by James Sinclair, part of his Artisanal Sudoku Volume 116. It is, well, it consists of quads, killers, and this diagonal over here. So let's take a look at the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply. So place the digits 1 to 9 in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. Digits cannot repeat on the indicated diagonal, so yeah, those 9 digits are all going to be different, therefore they contain the digits 1 to 9. Killer cages. The sum of digits inside each cage is equal to the number in the corner. So for example, those digits sum to 6, those digits sum to 10, and those digits sum to 9, similar to every other cage over here. And finally, quadruple circles. Digits in a white circle must appear in one of the 4 cells around that circle. So for example, this circle has 6, 7, 8, 9 in it. So in the 4 cells around it, there must be 6, 7, 8, and 9. Same for the rest of these circles over here. And those are all the rules. So yeah, with that, let's just begin solving. Now I assume it's called satellites because of these like little structures over here, which consist of little like main core plus 2 like satellite wings, which I think are solar panels. I'm not actually entirely sure how satellites work, but I think yeah, the outer panels are solar panels that you know, generate electricity for the satellites themselves, because being in outer space means you can collect sunlight as energy a lot more efficiently. So yes, alright, let's actually do the most obvious thing first and start pencil marking all of these in. I think those will be helpful because I can already see some stuff going on here with the odd digits. So yes, we have something known as an X-wing. I don't know how useful that's going to be, but there is a 1 in one of these cells and a 1 in one of these cells, right? And therefore, what we can say is that these 2 columns both have both have a 1 each, making 2 1s. One of them is going to be here, one of them is going to be here, and therefore that is all the 1s in these 2 columns. What that means is that nowhere else in these columns can there be a 1, so none of those digits will be a 1. And the same works for 3, where none of these digits can be a 3. Now I'm not sure how useful that's going to be. Might touch on this a little bit, but I don't think that's very useful. Yeah, I don't really see much about what we can do there. I can, however, say that this will affect the rest of these cages, the rest of this square though, because 1, 3, 7, and 9 cannot be in these cells. So that does affect a few things. In fact, it does help us in sort of figuring out how this 9 would work, because the 9 only has 4 options: 1, 8, 2, 7, 3, 6, and 4, 5. But it can't be 1, 8, 2, 7, or 3, 6 because of these because of the 1, 3, and 7 already being in the box. So this must be a 4, 5 pair, and therefore those digits are the remaining digits 2, 6, and 8. We can remove 6 and 8 from those cells because of this triple over here. So therefore, because it's a 7-9 pair, those digits cannot be 7 and 9, and therefore it must be a 6-8 pair. We can do something similar here, where the 11 has 4 options. It's either 2, 9, 3, 8, 4, 7, or 5, 6, but cannot be 2, 9, 3, 8, or 4, 7 because 3, 7, and 9 already exist in the box. So this has to be, I think, 5 and 6, leaving 2, 4, and 8 as digits in this triple remaining. That removes 2, 4 from these cells, which gives us a 2, 4 pair down here. So similar logic over here. And I believe that could help us. Maybe. I wonder how though. Oh, it's the 14 and the 6 cage now, because 14 only has 2 options. Yeah, it's either it's either 5, 9 or 6, 8. Can't be 2 7s because you know, they will repeat in the column. But because of the 4, 5 pair up here, this cannot be 5, 9, so it must be a 6, 8 pair, which gives us our first digit. That's a 2. Nice. Alright, they can do the same thing here. The 6 is either a 1, 5 or a 2, 4, but because of the 5, 6 pair here, this cannot be 1, 5, it's therefore a 2, 4. That actually resolves this for us because 4 must go here, 2 must go here. Yeah, this 2 resolves that. This tells us this must be an 8, which further resolves the 6, 8 pair. Awesome. Oh, that's quite cool. That's quite a cool trick. Okay. Now what? Does that maybe help us with this, maybe? Well, we know this cannot be a 3, 9 anymore because 3 is already in the box. But it could still be 4, 8 or 5, 7, I think. Well, I can do stuff about that. It's either 4, 8 or 5, 7. But this, because of 4, 5 and 7, 4, 5 and 8 here, that actually only has one option. So yes, this in fact cannot be 4, 5 and 8, therefore it must be a 7, which means that must be a 5 to give us our 12. Which is quite cool, I guess. The 5 resolves this 5, 6 pair, and those cells cannot be a 7. Alright, now we can probably do the same thing with 8. Because, well, because of the 2, 6 here, this cannot be a 2, 6 pair. It therefore only has 2 options. Well, actually, no, it's even better than that. So yeah, let's make it similar to how I'd solved this one. Because of the 7 already in the box, this cannot be 1, 7. Therefore, to make 8, it's either a 2, 6 or a 3, 5. This digit cannot be 2, 5 or 6, therefore it must be 3. That digit must now be a 5 to finish 8, and that gives us a 3 in the corner, which we haven't seen in a while. Those digits can't be a 3, and this 4, 5 pair resolves itself because of the 5 here. Now those digits actually now act along the diagonal, therefore this digit cannot be a 7, it's a 9, and this digit cannot be a 3, so it's a 1. Cool. Very cool. Okay. Well, the 7 over here means that digit can't be a 7, so in fact 7 goes over here. 3 similarly cannot be there, so 3 goes over here. I'm starting to think that this might be a X windmill type of puzzle. Although not entirely, because see, those digits, if it were an X windmill, should sum to 20, but they don't. So no, it's X windmill up to this point, I think, but we're going to deviate it from that soon. This cannot be a 1, that cannot be a 9. And everything still runs as per normal. We have a pair of triples here. A pair of triples. This has to be, I think, 1, 7, 9. Yeah. Reading skills are going down the drain at this point. This has to be 1, 3, 9. Wow, 1, 3, 9. Cool, and we cannot fix anything about that, except the 1, 3 here means that must be a 9, while the 7, 9 here means that must be a 1. Okay. That gives us pairs to work with, which is good. 1 now cannot be in that cell, so in this quadruple here, 1 must be here. Similarly, 9 can't be in that cell, so in this quadruple, 9 has to be here. Alright. We have more triples, oops. So that has to be, I think, 2, 4, 8. Yeah, 2, 4, 8. Well, this has to be, I think, 2, 6, 8. Yes, oh, that gives us another triple over here. That's awesome. And in fact, the same thing happens here as well, which will indicate to us that that digit, for example, cannot be an 8. It must be a 6. This digit therefore cannot be an 8 either, giving us a 2, 4 pair. Same here, there's a 2, 6, 8 pair, which means that digit cannot be a 2, it must be a 4. That digit now cannot be a 2, giving us a 6, 8 pair. We can do even more now because more triples have started to form. This has to be 1, 3, 4, I think. And this has to be, I think, 6, 7, 9. Yes, all very symmetrical so far. 6, 8 pair removes 6 from that cell. So in fact, in this triple, 6 can only appear here. Same here, this 2-4 pair removes 4 from this cell, so in this triple, 4 can only be here. Awesome. Okay, and how will we continue resolving this? I want to say it's time to look for the cages. Oh, I'm just kidding, we have more triples to work with. Alright, so this is just the land of triples, huh? This has to be 135. This has to be 579. Cool, and because of these cages, we can actually put in the opposing values over here to form 7. The 135 gives us 6, 4, and 2 to make 7. As for the 12 cage, this is 7, 5, 3 to make 12. And this does help us because this digit is resolved. It cannot be a 6 or a 2 because of the pair here and this 2 here. So that must just be a 4. Can we resolve this one yet? I don't think so. This one's a bit different. But this 4 does give us a 2 over here because of the diagonal. So this must be a 2. That resolves this over here. Gives us another pair down here, but I don't know if we can resolve that just yet. Oh, however, it does give us a triple over here. So yes, even more triples. This is 579. And in fact, it gives us a triple in this box as well, which already existed actually. So I can put a triple here as well. So this has to be 135. Yeah. Cool. Alright. I don't know if that gives us anything. It gives us almost a quintuple here with 5 different digits. But no, because there's only 4 of them. It would be pretty interesting though, to find a quintuple. Actually, maybe this could be useful. Yeah, like the 10 here could be affected by the 1 and the 3. I don't know how else it would be affected though. It already is affected by the 1s and the 3s outside. But I think there's still 2 more options. You could either have 2, 8 or 4, 6 over here. So I'm not entirely sure. Oh, this digit is confirmed because of the diagonal as well. This 3, 7 means that has to be a 5. Whoopsies. So that means that this must be a 7 to form your 12. Okay. And in the diagonal, which has the digits 1 to 9, those form a pair. This must be 6, 8. And this 6 resolves that for us. This must be an 8. That must be a 6. Okay, that resolves this over here. Does this help? I'm not entirely sure. 5 cannot be in that cell, so 5 must be up here. Which means 5 isn't there, so 5 must be up here. 5 cannot be here anymore. Actually, this 4 gives us a 3 over here. I just realized because of the 7 cage. So 3 gives us a 1 here and therefore a 5 there. That resolves this 5-9 pair. Very cool. Does that help with those here? I mean, not entirely. This 7 cage does have 3 options still. Oh, it does. The 3, 4, and 5 in the column help. Yep, because this cannot be a 3, 4, because that already exists in the column. It can't be a 2, 5 either, because 5 is already in the box and the column. So this has to be 1, 6, which is resolvable. This 1 resolves this 1, 3 pair, which resolves this 1, 3 pair, which should do something. Ah, yes, the thing it does is give us more triples. This has to be 6, 7, 9. Whoa, there you go. That digit can't be a 6, so in fact in this triple the 6 must be there. 7, 9 pair forms, well 7, 9 does form a pair here, which in fact gives us another triple. This has to be, I think 1, 3, 1, 2 and 3 actually. And none of those digits can be a 1 really, so 1 must go here, that must be 3, the 3 resolves this remaining 2, 3 pair. That forms, guess what, another triple, which has to be I think 1, 7, 9. This digit can't be a 1 or a 7 in fact, so it must just be a 9. That fixes the rest of the triple for us and does the entire thing. So this must be 7, 9 here. That fixes a 7, 9 over here. And this 7, 9 fixes a 7, 9 up top. Cool. Now this is the last cage we have to work with. And I'm not sure if we, you know, really can do anything about it yet. I mean, yeah, with all of these options. No, we still have 2, 8 to work with. I can tell you that this answer is definitely not going to be 2, 8 though. By uniqueness, it is not 2, 8. And the reason why is because, let's talk about daily patterns for a moment since we have a bit more time. Those digits cannot be all the same set of 2. Because if this was 2, 8, then in your final solution, which assuming it is unique, you can actually swap the positions of 2s and 8s here. Because either way, it would give you a 10. It would fulfill every clue and every Sudoku rule. You know, it will make both options valid, and therefore there will be no unique solution. But obviously that is not a part of the puzzle. The puzzle, you cannot assume that a puzzle has a unique solution, so you have to sort of prove it. And anyway, you can probably prove it's 2-8 in some other way as well. But yeah, I'm not going to assume that it's a unique solution, even though I have faith that it is. It's actually a lot easier to prove that this is not 2-8 by looking at this column and saying, well, what goes in there? This must be 8 and 9. This 9 resolves that. And that, because of this 8, this now can't be a 2-8. So this must be 2. This must be 8. And that gives us this one over here, which now cannot be 1, 9, 3, 7, or 2-8, and therefore must be 4, 6. That is resolvable as well. So yeah, what we saw there was potentially a deadly pattern, which is something that should never come out in unique Sudoku puzzles. Otherwise, you couldn't resolve them. When I say something is resolvable, that's normally a good thing. Now this has to be 7, 2. So 7, 2. Yeah, and that's why every time I solve a puzzle, I try and solve puzzles, I always say it's not resolvable yet. That's because generally every puzzle should have everything be resolvable. Anyway, this column needs 2-8. We can actually resolve that. And that would resolve this 4-8 pair. And those last two digits would be 3, 4, which is resolvable. And that solves the puzzle in 14 minutes and 13 seconds. Nice, this was a quick one. Hold on, can I like this puzzle? Yes, I can. Yeah, very quick, fun little puzzle. I think I like the idea. I was trying to talk about X-Wings at the very beginning, but I don't think they really helped. But yeah, hope you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Hello, this is Capricorn by James Sinclair, part of his Artisanal Sudoku volume 116. So yeah, we got a couple of really big cages today. Let's take a look at the rules. Normal Sudoku rules apply, so place the digits 1 to 9 in every row, every column, and every 3x3 box. Killer cages, so the sum of digits inside each cage is equal to the small number in the top left corner if given. So those digits, for example, sum to 22, those digits would sum to 23, and those are really the two only cages with sums in them. Digits may not repeat within a cage, so it doesn't really apply to those two cages, but for the remaining cages over here that are each 9 cells large, digits may not repeat within them. So for example, something like this is invalid, which, okay, that's useful. And actually, because this cage is 9 cells large, it does also imply that the digits 1 to 9 must appear in this cage, because no digits can repeat. Next, we have arrows. The sum of digits along an arrow is equal to the digit in the connected circle. So for example, those 3 digits sum to whatever digit that is. Those 3 digits will sum to whatever digit that is, and so on and so forth for every other arrow here. Digits may repeat if allowed by other rules. So, well, technically they cannot in this puzzle. So in reality, if the cages didn't exist, then you could have something that looked like this. So this would have been a valid cage, valid arrow, because those digits, could technically be different because they're an arrow, but because they're in a cage, they cannot be different. They cannot be the same, sorry. So yeah, that rule right now is kind of redundant, but I guess it's good to clarify. And finally, digits in cells separated by white dots are consecutive. So those digits are consecutive, meaning they must differ by 1. So yeah, those are all the rules. With that, let us just begin solving. I think the first thing to look at is definitely these cages with pretty big totals in them. This 23 does only have one option, and the answer is 689. I was going to say 589. It's 689. And the way you would do that is, I think I've said this many times before, that because digits may not repeat in a box or in a cage, to make if you use the maximum digits here, 7, 8, and 9, you would get 24. Now to get 23, you have to decrease one of these digits by 1, but you can't do it for the 9 or the 8, because that would lead to a repeated digit. So the only thing you can do is decrease 7 by 1, which would give you 6. Therefore 6, 8, 9, which do in fact add up to 23. And this is the only way to get to 23. So another way you can do that is when you put in, when you click on the cursor in this software, there is an option for you to select cages and then display the possible options for them. I personally don't use that option, but I just thought it would be useful if you guys wanted to, you know, make things a little more efficient to see what possible options for there are. So this 22, for example, would have two options. It's either 589 or 679. And I think I know what the answer is. It would be 589. And let's talk about the reason why. That digit, for example. Well, not that digit, for example, but that digit specifically. And the reason why is because this must be 589, because if it was 679, then consider what digit could go in that cell. If that digit was a 9, it would need to be 8s on both sides, which doesn't work. So obviously 9 can't be here. But in addition, if this was a 6 or a 7, you would need the two digits that are on the either side of that digit, right? So this was a 6, you need a 5, 7 here, because those are the only two digits consecutive to 6. And same for 7, 7 would need an 8 and a 6 here. But that doesn't work, because whatever digit is in here, the other digit is already in the cage. So if this was a 6, 7 would be somewhere else in the cage, and you wouldn't be able to put it beside the 6. And same for 7, you won't be able to put a 6 beside it in one of those cells. So in fact, this cannot be a 679, it therefore must be a 589. And we can actually tell what digit that is. That must be a 5. Firstly, because it can't be a 9, but if it was an 8, then you would need those digits to be 7 and 9 for the dots to work. However, 9 already exists in the cage somewhere, so this wouldn't work. So this can't be an 8, it must be a 5. And therefore the digits beside it must be 4 and 6. So there you go. Interesting options you have here. Alright, next up. What shall we look at next? Probably the arrows. The arrows actually do some very interesting things. Each of the arrows do in fact have some lower bound to them, because those digits are all going to be different for each arrow. And therefore, the minimum you can put on each arrow will be the digits 1, 2, and 3, making this digit at the very least a 6. So those digits are at least 6, and therefore are either 6, 7, 8, or 9, because of each of these arrows here. Same for this actually, those digits are all different. And I think that might lead me to my next point, where all of those digits are different, which is fairly interesting. Because if those digits are all different, then in reality, there are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? Which already sum to 15. However, we know that those digits are in fact what sums to 2 times of this, because each arrow gives you 1 copy of this digit over here. And therefore, with 2 arrows, that will give you 2 copies of whatever digit there is here. And because there's this extra cell here, we can say that the sum of these 2 arrows is going to be greater than the sum of these 5 digits over here. If those 5 digits are at least 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, then this must be greater than that, and therefore has to be greater than the sum of digits from 1 to 5. And therefore these digits will have to sum to at least 16. Therefore I can say that this is not a 6 or a 7, because, you know, if this sums to at least 16, then 2 copies of that would be 2 copies of 8. That would be at least 2 copies of 8. So 6 and 7 are not valid over here. You wouldn't have enough small digits to place here to give you something that would fit here. Same for this digit, because, you know, diagonally symmetrical. So those digits cannot be 6 and 7, which actually do some very interesting things. It completes pairs over here, and also completes triples over here. So that's quite useful. Okay. Now how is this going to be helpful for us? I can tell you that that digit must be a 6, I'm pretty sure. Because if it was not a 6, then it will either be 8 or 9. However, what that means is that both of these digits must therefore be 6s because of the pairs already formed, which doesn't work. So either this digit is a 6 or both of these digits are 6. And only one of those options will work, which is this being a 6. So that's cool, we get another digit. And we also get more pairs to work with. So that's quite nice. And obviously because these digits are different, we can definitely say that those digits are also going to be different. Because whatever this digit is not this one and is therefore this one. And if those digits are the same, this is different from this and therefore would similarly be different from that. So those digits are different. Meaning one of them is going to be an 8. And actually for 8, that does us a very interesting thing. Because 8 times 2 is 16, those digits sum to 16. Because those digits already sum to at least 15, the only way you can make 16 out of that is if the remaining digit is exactly a 1. And so what that would mean is that because one of these digits are going to be an 8, one of these digits are going to have to be a 1. It's definitely possible for both of them to be 1, which would force this digit to be a 1, but that's not really important now. But at least one of these digits have to be a 1 in them. Have to have a 1 in them. So that is somewhat useful, I guess. I mean, it kind of tells me that that digit is not a 1, and that digit is not a 1, but you know, all of those don't really help much. I think maybe we should look at what the larger digits have to be, right? Like, where does this digit go in this set from 1 to 9? Because this digit is always going to be... It's always going to not be on its arrow, for obvious reasons. You need to add like a 0 to it for it to even work. And so this digit cannot be on its arrow. It also cannot be in these 3 cells because it is looking at those cells by Sudoku. And therefore, the only cell it can actually be is over here. So this digit is actually just an 8 or a 9. And we can do the same thing here. This digit over here cannot be on its arrow, cannot be in any of those cells, and therefore must be here, giving us an 8 or a 9. Now how does that help us? I could probably do something if I colored this slightly differently. Let's say I colored them orange instead. It's a bit harder to see, but we can say that this digit isn't whatever that digit is because they occupy the same row. Therefore, that digit must be the one that this digit is in, which gives us... Oh, this is kind of hard to see. What if I turn to green? Which gives us this. Yeah, this is a lot easier to see. And those digits, I can actually mark as the same as well, for similar reasons. We can do the same up here, because this digit cannot be there, and therefore must be that digit. And this digit must therefore be that digit. So those are all the same. You can probably do some fancy Sudoku with this, but yeah. Okay, now what? Shall we figure out what the 9 would be? I know if it's an 8, we need to be 1 with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. But if it were a 9, which means this was something 18, our remaining digit has like 2 degrees of freedom. It could either be 1, 2, or 3, which is quite a lot of options compared. So, not entirely sure either. I suppose an interesting thing is to think about where the green digit would go in this cage, because the green digit and the blue digit are different, right? However, the green digit cannot be on the arrow of the blue digit, because the green digit at the very least is 1 less than it. So if the green digit was, say, here, then, you know, the green digit would have to be less than the blue digit, but even then, if I made this 8 and 9, those digits have to somehow sum to 1, which isn't possible. And same for here if it was on this arrow. Two of the digits have to sum to 1, which again isn't possible. So therefore, in fact, the green digit cannot be on the arrow of the blue digit, and same in the other direction. We can do even more here because this green digit over here stares at those cells, which means those cells cannot be green. Therefore, in this set, green actually has to be here. Same for here, blue digit cannot be on the arrow of the green. This blue digit sees those cells, so that digit has to be the blue digit. Can we look at other stuff like where blue will be in this box maybe? Yep, blue again cannot be on the arrow, and therefore blue in this box has to be here. We can do a lot of coloring now. What else? In this box? Yes, blue cannot be in those cells, but also can't be on the arrow, so blue must be here. In this box maybe? Yeah, we can do even more. Blue has to be here in this box, because blue can't be on the arrow again. Blue is either 8 or 9. Meaning even if that digit was as high as possible, and blue is as low as possible, you would then still need 2 digits to sum to a 1, which doesn't work. So blue again cannot even be on the arrow of this guy, so that digit must be blue. And so looking up here, the last place for blue would have to be this cell. So those are all the blues. Can we do the same for green? Maybe. Where does green go in this box? Yep, can't be in that cell because of the arrow. Green must be there. What about in this box? Well, green actually has 2 options in this box. It could be one of those cells. Where else can we look? Here? Yes, green in this box can't be on an arrow, so green must be there. Which means, well, in this box it also has 2 options. But we can tell which one it is. It can't be that cell. Oh no, it can. It could be like 8 with 7, right? Yeah, green could be 8 with 7. but generally green is in one of those two positions in each of these boxes. However, for every single one of these which we can identify as having 8 or 9, we can mark 8 or 9 in them. Actually, since that digit is neither 8 or 9, it's just a 6 or a 7, which does tell us that those digits must contain a 1 and a 2 in them. And so the reason why is because without them, the minimum would have to be 1, 3, and 4, or 2, 3, and 4, both of which sum to greater than 7, which doesn't work. So you must have both 1 and 2 in those cells. So it's either a 1, 2, 3 or 1, 2, 4. So I guess I can mark 1, 2, 3, and 4 in those cells. Which is okay, fair enough. So these digits are only consisting of 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now what? Sorry. Yeah, interestingly, I think... Oh, right. Where does 7 go in this? Because we know 8, we already figured out where 8 and 9 go in each of these cages. But what about 7? 7 is also quite important in this case because 7 cannot be on the arrow either. And the reason why is because if 7 was, these digits have to sum to at most a 2. And you can't do that with two cells that are different. They have to be both 1s, which doesn't work because they're in the cage. So this can't be a 7. And in fact, none of the arrows can be 7s, which means 7 is one of those cells. And this does help us. This must be 7 and 6 then, because 7 is either with 8 or with 6 to form a consecutive pair, but 8 and 9 are already in the box somewhere else, in the cage somewhere else. So this has to be 6 and 7. Similarly, 7 must be one of those cells, although we don't know if it's beside a 6 or not, because the dot doesn't exist here. That does help us, because that digit, well, that removes 6 from this cell, which means it's a 4. So that digit is now a 6. So it is interesting that 6 is not on here. Ah, so 6 is in one of those cells, isn't it? Which means it must have a 9. Because 6, wherever it is, can only be paired with 1 and 2 at the very least, which would already make a 9. And so, yeah, because 6 with 2 other digits means it has to be at least 6, 1, and 2, which already had to 9. So because 6 must be on the arrow in one of these cells in the cage, because it can't be in those cells, because of this 6 up here, this digit must therefore be a 9. Which gives us a 9 in all the greens, generally. So 9 goes all the way there. 8s are in the rest of the blues. Those are all 8s. That gives us 8s basically instantly. And that does tell us about this cage over here. Because the 8 means those have to sum to 16. Those sum to at least 15, and in fact they do sum to 15. So they have to be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That digit therefore must sum to 1 to make 16. So there you go. That's a 1. 1 must be in this cell over here. Must be one of these cells over here. Sorry, alright. And the remaining digits here besides the 1 have to sum to 7 to make 8. So yes. Can we think about this one? Is there anything different here? Well, I suppose 5 can't be in those cells, so 5 must be on the arrow somewhere. So must 6 actually. So if 6 is with 1 and 2, then 5... Well, 5 clearly must be on a different arrow. But in fact, 5 cannot be 1 and 2. And therefore 5 can't be on this arrow. Because if it was on this arrow, then it would need to be at least with 3 and 4, which already add up to 12, which is way too big, because 6 is already 1 and 2. Well, I guess it could also be with 1 and 3, if 1 was on the outside of this cage like that. So yeah, that's fair. I guess it could work. You could have a 1 here. I don't know if you must have a 1 there. Oh, but I can prove that it must be a 1 there because of the 5 and the 6. So let's think about those digits over here. We know that the 5 digits over here must include a 5 and a 6 somewhere in them, and therefore the minimum you could have those cells add up to is 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, which is 17, right? We know because of the 9, those digits add up to exactly 18. That adds up to at least 17, which means this adds up to at most a 1. And because it's at most 1, it must be just exactly a 1 itself. So there you go, that's a 1. And in fact, this must be the maximum 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. Those digits can't be a 1. So 6 would be with 2, 3 would be with 5 here, and that all works out. 6 can't be there, but 6 could be here. Alright, therefore the last 2 digits in this cage over here will be 4 and 7, which are in fact where they are supposed to be. It forms a pair. So now this digit can't be green. Right, I figured this out because this can't be a 9, it will require an 8 beside it, which already exists in the box. So this can't be 9. 9 must go up here, which means 9 goes over there. So there you go. No more greens in those cells, and that gives us the cells that we need. Okay, now how is this helpful for us? I mean, I suppose it should be. Oh yes, 1 in this box, because of the ones outside, have to be here. Those digits are therefore 2, 3, and 7. I think there are some digits we haven't seen here, like 6 in this row, yeah. Can't be in that cell because of the 6 down there. Can't be in those cells, so 6 must be here. Which does resolve this 6, 7 pair for us actually. Can we do the same here? No, I guess 6 is in one of those cells. But what is missing from this row over here is a 4, which is in one of those cells. Not like that, like this. Which means that this 4, 7 is resolved because 4 in one of those cells would always see that. So that's a 7, that's a 4. Not those digits are 4 anymore. We can't prove that 4 goes up here though, because this isn't actually a triple of any sort. But alright, that's nice. Let's see. I mean, okay, 1 can't be in that cell. This forms a 2, 3, 4, 5 quadruple. But I think what much easier to see is a triple over here, which has to be 1, 2, and 3. That digit can't be a 1. So 1 is in one of those cells, which makes sense, because 1 can't be in those cells at all. Cool. We haven't seen a 7 in this box yet, because these are just 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 7 is therefore in one of those cells, which means it is not there. Therefore 7 in this column does help us, because none of those digits can be 7. 7 in this box would see those cells, so 7 must go up here. Okay, classic Sudoku. This forms a 2, 3, 4, 5 quadruple, which makes sense. I might as well just mark it. I've been marking a lot of small digits in here. 1 can't be in that cell. So this contains 2, 3, 4, and 5 as expected, but also requires a 6 somewhere in the box. And we can place it. Can we place it? No. Yes, because 6 is in one of those cells. There you go. 6 is in one of those cells firstly. We can actually do some very roundabout thinking over here. 6 is in one of those cells. That would see that cell, so that cell is never a 6. Therefore, in this cage, 6 must be in those cells. And because 6 is in those cells, it must always be paired up with a 2 to make 9. Well, it makes 8 with the 1 makes 9. And that removes 6 from this cell. So by a very roundabout method, we've seen a 6 over here. This 2, 6 pair also resolves this 2, 3 pair up top. Which means that because this must sum to 7 and cannot be 2, 5, it must be 3, 4. That gives us a 5 over here. This must be a 1, 2, 5 instead. So we can remove 3, 4 from that. 5 means this is the wrong set of digits I removed. No, this is 1, 2, 5, yes. And 5 can't be in those cells. So 5 must go here. This is a 2, that's a 1. That's therefore a 3, that's therefore a 4. This is no longer a 3, which makes sense. Those digits I think 7 and 5, which also makes sense. They finish the box. And, well, I think we've made a lot of progress so far. Alright, time for my brain to continue working. This forms another triple, which has to be, well, I think it has to be 1, 2, and 3. Wow, okay. Guess I'm not seeing those things anymore. This has to be not 2, so 2 goes down here. We also know from this 2, 6 pair that none of those digits are 2. So that gives you a 1, 3, 5 triple, which do add up to 9, so that's good. Those digits are therefore 5 and 7, and this 5 resolves that for us. That gives us a 6 over here, which is nice, because we now know this has to be a 1, 2, 3 triple to add up to 6. Those digits are therefore 4, 5, and 7 to give us the remaining box. This can be 5 or 7, so it's a 4. And in fact, that digit is consecutive to whatever this is. Can we figure out which? I don't think so yet. Because this could be a 6 for all it matters, and then both of these will be valid. We can't really we can't really fix the 5 7 either way. Alright, so okay, now what's here? Well, this has to be a 4 5 pair. Oh, that gives us a 3 over here. That's nice. 1 5 pair to give us a 6 plus 3, which is 9. 1 5 pair resolves a lot for us. That gives us a 2 here. That while the 2 and the 1 over here gives us a 3 here, which does resolve that. Actually, 1 5 over here resolves this 5 7 as well, which resolves this 5 7. I think that gives us a digit over here, because 7 must be either next to 6 or 8, but 8 already exists in the box, so this must be a 6. That resolves the 2 6 pair. The 3 resolves this 1 3 pair. This 1 resolves this 1 2 pair. And that digit is just a free 4, I think. Cool, 4 also resolves this 3 4 pair, which gives us more pairs to work with. This has to be 2 and 9, which we can... not 2 and 9, what am I saying? 2 and 3, sorry, this resolves that. This has to be, I think, 6 7, which we can resolve. Those digits have to be 2 and 5, which resolves. And that digit is consecutive to 2, which is either 1 or 3. 3 already exists in the box, so that must just be a 1. Meaning that's a 5 because it resolves. The 5 resolves is 4 5. And that gives us a final triple over here, which has to be 3 4 and 7. This can't be 3 or 4, so that's 7. This forms a 3 4 pair, which I can't resolve yet for some reason. That's a free digit. That is a 2. And this is a free 4, which resolves this 3 4 pair for us. And that gives us a final pair over here, which has to be 3 7. That resolves and solves the puzzle in 22 minutes and 42 seconds. Awesome. Well, this was also really fun. I like the idea behind it. I didn't make a mistake this time like last week. Yeah, I really apologize for the stupid mistakes I've made last week when solving the puzzle. But yeah, well, this was a really fun experience. And in fact, these few months, in fact, have been a really fun experience. I've been doing this for about 3 months now, and I'm quite happy about where I am. So yeah, I really hope you guys have enjoyed all the videos that I've made so far. The daily gas videos will come up for a couple more days, but they're going to end on the 3rd of April, I think. That will be the last one, because after that I will not be able to create videos anymore for another 2 months, which I'm really bummed out about. But yeah, it has been an exciting journey. I enjoyed a lot of it. So yeah, I really hope you guys enjoyed the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed the entire experience as well. Yeah, bye bye.